Hi, everyone. It's Father Eric Ma, and of course, I'm the pastor of St. Joseph Worker Parish in Oshawa. And I'm really pleased to have been given the opportunity to speak to you on this occasion of your graduation. So, first of all, congratulations. But also, I thought it might be kind of important to reflect on the nature of graduation and kind of transitions in general, because, transitions, they're part of life, right? We go through them multiple times throughout the course of our lives. We can't escape them. And graduation is a clear instance of a transition, so kind of turning our backs in a certain sense on the old to kind of receive that which is new. And regardless of how old you are, whenever there's a transition, there's a certain kind of excitement, the anticipation of that which is new, but at the same time, perhaps even a bit of apprehension along with that, right? So if you're feeling that, that's a totally natural thing. That's a totally human thing. So I thought, given all that, I might give you some kind of practical advice as to how to kind of approach transitions, right? So, first of all, this idea of honoring that which came before, honoring that which came before. So, apparently, back in the day when the Jesuit order was still relatively new, there was an occasion where the Jesuits were asking St. Ignatius, can we kind of cut down on our prayers because, things are really busy in terms of our apostolic efforts. And St. Ignatius allowed a certain kind of temporary, at least, modification with regards to their prayer routine. But he said that one thing they should not neglect is this thing called the examen prayer, right? So we're perhaps a lot more familiar with the idea of an examination of conscience, right? So before I go to confession, I examine my conscience. What have I done? What have I failed to do? I bring these things to the sacrament confession. But a conscience examen is a little bit different. A conscience examen is basically this idea that where you look back on the previous day, the past 24 hours, like where has God been throughout the course of my day? Where has He touched me with His grace? Where has He given me blessings and opportunities to grow in love, to grow as a human person? Did I recognize those opportunities and did I correspond, right? So it's really important for us to do that on a regular basis, but especially when we reach a major milestone like a graduation. So again, the conscience exam is meant for like a 24-hour period, but on the occasion of a graduation, perhaps it's appropriate to do a conscience exam which extends back even further throughout the course of the previous year or the previous years when you were at a particular institution, to look again at where has God been with me, where has He given me graces and blessings, where has He challenged me, where has He invited me to become more a person of love. So it's kind of the first thing. The second thing I'll suggest, though, and this is kind of related to the first thing, once you recognize where God has blessed you, either directly or through circumstances or through people, to give thanks to God and to give thanks for the people involved in the blessing conveyed to you, right? So to illustrate the point, a lot of times when young people go to confession, it tends to be some variation of I was disobedient to my parents and I was mean to a particular sibling. Like, so for example, I made fun of my brother, I hit my brother, I neglected my brother, right? And my response to that, first of all, is like, well, you're a poor brother, right? But secondly, like you need to broaden your sense of the relationships that you have in your life, right? So beyond your parents, beyond your siblings, like who else is in your life? Like, well, you have your friends, you have your classmates, you have your teachers, you have all these people who are trying to help you collectively and collaboratively to become the person that God is calling you to be, right? So do I notice that? And do I give thanks to God for putting these people in my path? And perhaps more to the point, when I kind of think of these people, do I reflect back to them what they've meant to me? How they've helped me, right? So again, to kind of go back to confession, right? A lot of times we think, okay, well, what makes me a good Christian? To not do this, to not do that, to not do the other thing, right? So it seems like the Christian life is to simply not do stuff, right? Whereas what you probably should do is kind of work on the opposite virtue, right? So, for example, if I am guilty of not using my speech well, like I'm using coarse language and whatnot, rather than simply try to go through my day avoiding coarse language, perhaps I try to do the opposite thing, right? To use the gift of speech well, to speak the truth, to honor my friends, to honor my teachers, to honor my parents, to honor all sorts of people who might have helped me before in the past, to honor these people through intentional speech. Here's this thing that you did, which was wonderful. It really changed my life, and I just want to honor you and thank you, right? So it's kind of the second thing, to give thanks to God for the graces and blessings He has conveyed to you, particularly through your various relationships. But I guess the third thing is this, and this has more to do with like the future. So everything we've been talking about thus far has kind of been about the past, right? How to kind of honor people in the past, to give thanks to God for the many graces and blessings He's given to us, to honor our story up to this point. But of course, another important part of transitions is looking forward to the future. And again, this can be exciting, but it can also be filled with apprehension, perhaps even fear. And so I want to share with you an example that I found kind of helpful in my own life, right? So, as you know, like before you become a priest, you go to seminary. So I was in a seminary for like 6 years, right? And in the middle of those 6 years, you got to go to a parish for like a year. It's called an internship year. So you're not yet a priest, but you're a seminarian in a parish setting, and that's kind of a really important year. And generally speaking, the seminary community looks at that year as sort of a make or break year, right? So if you go into internship and you come out of it and you're not really convicted about your vocation, probably you're not called to be a priest, right? So there's a lot of excitement, but also, again, apprehension when it comes to that particular transition in life, in terms of the life of a seminarian. Anyways, I remember speaking to my spiritual director at the time, and he said to me, like, I understand why you're feeling apprehensive because of all the pressure and kind of related to the internship year and whatnot. And, you got your own kind of fears and whatnot. But the thing you got to do is to kind of say to the Lord in a certain sense, like, look, despite what I feel, despite the churning of my emotions, despite what might be going on in my mind and in my heart in terms of, again, fears, apprehensions, anxieties, I want to choose to bring to the table a sense of joyful expectation. Like, Lord, I know that you are in the midst of my storms, whatever form those storms might take. And so, regardless of what I feel, I firmly choose to expect not just like, mildly okay things, great and tremendous things in the near future, not even far in the future. Joyful expectation that the Lord will shower me abundantly with graces and blessings, to choose to expect that particular reality in the imminent future, as opposed to giving into your fears, anxieties, however you want to frame it. And that's the thing you want to do for yourself, right? So if you have a certain apprehension about this next stage in your life, fight against that. Don't just like put those feelings down, but choose explicitly to go the way of joyful expectation. And know that in the meantime, a lot of people are wishing you well. A lot of people want you to succeed. A lot of people want you to really flourish as a person, as a Christian. Not the least of whom are your teachers, the people you've journeyed with in the course of your school, your family, obviously your parents, and myself, right? So just know going forward, I'll be praying for you, and hopefully you pray for me as well. All right, God bless.